As a guy who has always struggled with my building's interiors, I think I have finally found a way that I'm really excited to craft interiors. That's what we're going to be talking about this week. And welcome back to the channel. My name is Garmin. This is the Storycraft Society. And this week, like I said, I found a way that I am really excited to craft building interiors. And that's something that I have really struggled with. I'm going to use this building on my left as an example because it's the one that is applicable to me and my game for this week. And I'm going to need the interior. Now here's the thing. I crafted this building so that all of the floors come apart, but I didn't finish any of the interiors, and there's a reason for that. I never feel like I ever use my building interiors. I'm not sure why that is. Everyone who seems to make buildings consistently always wants an interior and a playable interior, but I really leave it in the comments below. I'm curious, how many of you who craft building interiors actually use them? Use them enough that they wouldn't just be fine setting up a set of dungeon tiles off to the side to imply an interior. Anyway, I digress. Well, what I figured out is that it was way harder to make a building that had a playable interior than it was just to craft the building as being one solid piece that didn't come apart. And then it was always, well, if I'm going to do an interior, I'll use dungeon tiles. Well, for this building, I really wanted to honor what the outside of the building looked like and give it a unique actual interior. So then I thought about what to do, and this is the result that I came up with. And I'm gonna walk you all through today how I did this from basically start to finish. I have one floor left, and I'll show you on that floor what I did. And then I guess I better stop flapping my gums about it and start doing about it. Let's get down to the table. So to get started, there are two things that I had to pay attention to. The first thing is, what does the actual footprint of the floor look like? And it's important to mention that this footprint here is actually smaller than what the actual floor's footprint would be. That's just solely because I made the walls of my building thick. These are 1/2 inch thick walls. So the floor would be bigger than this. There's a fireplace back here. That's important to mention. But the other thing is to remember what is above that footprint. This is not standable space. Even though when I take this off, there would be floor here, that's not necessarily standable space. So paying attention to those two things, it then allowed me to cut out what the floor's footprint looks like. Now, I'm not too terribly worried about getting this perfectly to scale because A, there can be a little bit of imagination involved, but also with that said, I want it to be able to be used and minis to be able to be placed on here. So the bigger I can squeak it and make it still believable that it is the interior of that space, that's something that I want to do. So this is what I ended up with. The fireplace is going to be here, and then we can move on from there. As far as the planning stage is concerned, I would take a piece like this, I would sketch it onto a piece of paper, and then I would end up playing around with what I needed. I also made sure to write out all of the rooms that I needed to have in this townhouse in order to make sure that it was, somewhere in all of the floors. So in this example, this is floor 1. So in here needed to be the kitchen, the sitting room, and the dining room. So I have the entranceway that comes in here. That leads to the sitting room over here by the fireplace, the kitchen that is over here, and the dining room that is here. There's also a set of stairs that lead up to the second floor. But then again, you can see my sketch. Before I ended up doing this, I had this sketch to kind of play off of. All I'm gonna need is the master suite to go on this very top 4th floor. So that allows us to go to a blank page here, and it will allow me to start to sketch this all out. An important thing to remember here is that it does not have to be perfect. This is just giving you an idea of what your layout will be. But this is where that comes back, that it's important to think about what space is. So here we know that over on this corner here, and this corner here, there is no headspace. So I'm gonna mark that out on my piece here. Everything else other than the fireplace, which is here, coming out from floor 3, there is a staircase that goes upward. So if I line that up here to make it so that it goes up, we know that the staircase is right in here. So that means we know that we need to have space for the staircase to go upward. Now, in order not to drive anyone nuts listening to me think, I sketched some stuff out here and then started sketching it onto the foam. And the one thing that I realized is that actually the staircase is the thing that is coming up through here, which is why, you only need the headspace once you get over it like to there. Instead of having dead space here with the staircase coming all the way into the middle of the room, I changed it so the staircase is coming up over here. There's a wall kind of walling that off. This little dead space is completely walled off there. I figured this is the big master suite area, and then this will end up being like the bathroom for the master suite. Now we have this and we can start putting pieces and things onto it. What I'll do is I'll throw some things on and then I'll check in with you to explain what I did. No exaggeration, 10 minutes of crafting later, and this is where I am. And almost all of the actual crafting for this is done. So again, so you can see it relative, this is the situation of what we're going for. There is a lot of things that I'll explain in a little bit, but this is where the crafting stage gets. I took a bunch of scrap little bricks that I had to make the hearth area in front of the fireplace. I took some of the big scrap blocks that I had to make the back part of the fireplace. I took 1/4-inch strips of foam core that I textured up like in a stucco texture and just glued them into where the walls go. What's nice about that is that those are gonna sink down in because I'm gonna be using the coffee stir sticks to go around them, and they'll seem like, actual walls. They're just kind of floating right now, but that's basically it. So now what I'm gonna do is a couple of things before I check back in. I'm gonna Blackmagic Craft base coat the whole thing, and then I'm gonna paint the whole thing. The Blackmagic Craft base coat is just a 50-50 mixture of matte acrylic craft paint and matte Mod Podge, and that's gonna give me my base coat and a little bit of strength to the foam. And then when I go to paint this thing up, I'm really not doing anything special. Stone looks like stone. I'm not even worrying about the areas where I'm gonna be gluing down the coffee stir sticks, and then any place like this where there would be just empty space, I'm going to paint that out flat black. Oh, inside the fireplace is gonna be flat black also. In just 1 second, this will all be done. So this is what we're looking at once we get it painted. I will take just a very, very brief second to go over what I did paint-wise. I did my very typical stone texture paint job, which is charcoal gray, pewter gray, and then elephant gray. For the little bits of stucco wall, that is going to be a base tone of territorial beige, a mid tone of khaki, and then a high tone of antique white. The final thing that I did was this ebony black. Again, any black would do, but that's what I used to go around the edges and on the bottom to give it a nice clean look, as well as to black out this area so that it's obvious to the players, or hopefully obvious to the players, that there is no playable area there. The next thing that we need to move on to is flooring. On the 3rd floor, going up the final one up to the 4th floor here, left me to the issue of what do I do for the downstairs? And obviously these are only, 1/2 inch thick. So my option was cut out a chunk, I guess, and then build stairs down, but then I didn't think that would look very good. So the solution that I came up with, and I'm not saying that it's perfect, it's not the ideal solution that I've ever come up with, but what I did was I took a picture, and this picture here is literally of those stairs. I'll give you an example here. Here is a picture of these stairs right here, and I made the picture slightly darker just so that it would imply, shadowed lower level. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this out, take that piece, and it'll fit in right like that, and it will imply my downstairs. The final thing that I did was I cut up a bunch of coffee stir sticks and then just slathered them up with a just regular old brown paint, and then that is going to be what makes my floorboards. You can see you just cut them up and put strips on, and it looks really good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run 2 around here to kind of make a frame. Then I'm going to run all of my floorboards in one direction for this room, and then I'm going to run them all in a different direction for this other small water room over here. And that should be it to getting the crafting done on this project. Really simple, and by the end, I think they turn out just great. So the last thing I did was set up this scene, which is going to be where my players are going to encounter all of these different tiles and this townhouse specifically. So what is going to happen is they're going to go into this pretty affluent neighborhood, and then they're going to have to explore their way through the townhouse, and now I have all of the various floors ready to go. And the cool thing about these tiles is that if they show up on floor 1, they can just come through the door and then they're ready to go. But if one of them casts fly and they fly up and go through a bedroom window, I can set out the highest tile, and I only have to reveal the floors that they go to. That way, you know, it's not like everything has to come out at once, and they're pretty easy to move around. So I could pick them up and set them behind my DM screen and only set out the ones that I need. But let me know what you thought of this video. If you enjoyed this content, definitely do all of the YouTube stuff. Do things like share these videos with a friend that you think would enjoy it, like the video, obviously comment and subscribe. All of those things help out a YouTube channel greatly. But that's it. That's all I've got for this week. So until next week, I'll be seeing you.